A woman in California drops a bag of newborn puppies into a dumpster in Riverside County several months ago, and the verdict is now in: a year in jail for animal cruelty and abandonment. Now, the pups were days old and their eyes weren't open yet, and I agree with the punishment. Who would dump innocent, living, breathing puppies that were just born? Then I asked myself, but who would dump innocent, living, breathing, growing, preborn babies into the trash at abortion clinics across America? Infuriated that someone would leave puppies to die, people reacted with righteous indignation. If only we had such compassion for human babies in mothers' wombs. I'm David Fiorazzo, and this is Christ and Culture. Did you know that if a baby is born alive and survives a botched abortion, most state laws say they must be left to die? It is against the law to provide care for those babies. In Planned Parenthoods across the nation, baby parts are either sold for research or they end up in the trash. At least the puppies were found, given immediate care, and were saved. No such luck if your mother is human and planned to have an abortion, because babies are not protected. Over in Iceland, by the way, they abort all babies with Down syndrome. But they did just hold a funeral for, ready, a melting glacier. Save the ice! One geologist said, "We made the decision that this was no longer a living glacier. It was only dead ice. It was not moving." In Canada last year, a report came out showing that more than 800 babies were born alive after failed abortions and then were left to die. After all, it was the will of the mother. Another new report shows in just 3 U.S. states alone, 40 babies were born alive after botched abortions. Now, these were documented cases from only 3 states, which means the numbers could be well into the hundreds if all states kept records. Currently, 20 states still have no laws protecting abortion survivors. And by the way, if you happen to kill a preborn sea turtle, an egg, you could be fined $100,000 or get a year in prison. Kill a preborn bald eagle, egg, and the fine is $250,000 and a maximum of 2 years in prison. Do you see the problem here? Riverside, California Animal Services said what the woman did was a shameful act, which I agree. And they added, there is no excuse for dumping puppies. Again, agreed. If you truly value all life, don't you wish we could say this about people, though? In this allegedly civilized society, we've heard many excuses for abortion, but if a fetus is in fact a living, growing human being, are any of those excuses acceptable? My body, my choice, reproductive freedom, justice, right to privacy, confidentiality, the right to end a life? Isn't it interesting that the animal kingdom will fight to protect a pregnant mother, a female? At least animals know better than to kill their own offspring. But where moral relativism reigns here in America, evil is called good and good evil. Celebrating infanticide, for example, New York Governor Andrew Cuomo even lit up the top of One World Trade Center and several bridges in pink lights on the anniversary of Roe v. Wade earlier this year, after they passed a law eliminating any abortion restrictions whatsoever. Now, the bill actually states that it's a basic right to kill a child in the womb. Check out this wording, quote, "Every individual who becomes pregnant has the fundamental right to choose to carry the pregnancy to term, to give birth to a child, or to have an abortion." Legislation in both New York and Virginia expanded abortion access well into viability, all the way through the end of the 3rd trimester and up until the day of birth. Now, this is an evil, demonic worldview being driven by those with a lust for power in Washington, Hollywood, and the media. In fact, the Democrats running for the 2020 presidential nomination have already backed federal legislation that would override state restrictions on 3rd trimester abortion. Now, one figure I think is staggering. I recently saw this. According to the Abortion Survivors Network, there are tens of thousands of people living in the U.S. today who survived abortions. Now, that's why legislation has been introduced called the Born Alive Abortion Survivors Protection Act, One such pro-life hero, abortion survivor Gianna Jessen, testified before Congress about the reason she is still alive today when her mother underwent a saline abortion. Watch this.
My medical records state born alive during saline abortion, 6 a.m. Thankfully, the abortionist was not at work yet. Had he been there, he would have ended my life with strangulation, suffocation, or leaving me there to die. Instead, a nurse called an ambulance, and I was rushed to a hospital. Doctors did not expect me to live. I did.
So, doctors take an oath promising to do no harm, but, of course, they're only human, just like the babies they abort. Since we live in a society that believes we should protect animals, and we should we not also value and defend and protect every single human life created in the image of God? Let's have these conversations to confront this disconnect and the hypocrisy. And in order to do this, many more of us need to get off the bench. God bless you and keep speaking the truth about things that matter.